season. Now we have the man of the hour, Coach Brian Nix. Coach, how you doing?
Good. Heath, how you doing?
I
Thanks
am
for having
doing
me.
great. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Coach, an exciting week, as always, as it's Maryville week. And the first thing I wanted to start off with you is you kind of have a unique view of this rivalry. As a player from one side, as a coach on the other. Can you talk to me a little bit about what this rivalry means to you personally, and then also what it's like having played and coached in this series?
It means a lot to me because it means a lot to this community. You know, you ask our players what are their goals, what do they want to accomplish? They want to beat Maryville and win a state championship. So the players should determine the course of your program. Whatever they feel like is important should be your job as a coach to try to bring that into fruition. Mm-hmm. And I know to our community this game's important. And that's, I took a lot of pride 2 years ago in our community getting to walk around for a year, stick their chest out, knowing that they won that game. That really meant a lot to me that we were able to do that for our community. So, I think it just gives it so much added value because a lot of emphasis is placed onto this game. And it's a unique challenge for us. I think we're the only team in the last 20 years out of their classification to beat them. And that says a lot to have an undertaking just to play a 6A team in general, but to play a 6A team like them. So just for that challenge, but I know how special it is to win that game as a coach and as a player. But it means so much to me. More than anything, it's just for our kids and for our community to be able to stick their chest out, hold their head up high, and know that they're not judged by one win or loss in a game like that.
Scott?
All right, Coach Nix, after playing Tennessee top 25 ranked teams earlier in the season, pardon me, teams like Ravenwood, Knoxville West, Greenville, how do you think that has helped your team prepare for someone like Maryville, also for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think that's what you want during the regular season. Once again, you want great environments for your kids. When you want your players to play in front of great crowds, and you want them to be challenged. For us to work them the way we work them, to push and pull on them the way we do, there's got to be great challenges in front of them, or you're not gonna elicit that type of work. And so, I think I told our guys we were down 17 points to Ravenwood, and I said, I don't know, win or lose this game, how you play this next quarter and a half will determine your season. And you watched our guys, we continue to fight, we continue to execute. We're right there, the ball inside the 10, almost ready to cut that game to 3 points, where a lot of teams down to Ravenwood 17 points are going to roll over and quit. And our guys never did that, and I think it carried over into winning that Bearden game next week when we really had every opportunity to just think that game was out of hand and carry over, a 1 point game to Greenville at halftime, a 4 point game to West at halftime. But I think the maturity of our kids really came from that challenge at Ravenwood. So there's no doubt when you're battle tested, it makes a whole, especially for a young team. We got sophomores backing up sophomores, and for those young guys who haven't been in those situations, it's real easy to ride those emotions too. When you're playing well, you get really high. When you're playing low, you get really down on yourself. So I think the maturity that we've accumulated in our sophomore class or in our younger guys who haven't played a lot has made this year really fun, been really special.
So speaking of that Bearden game, two things I want to go to on that, Coach. Number one, and have you talk about both as I mentioned them to you, but one, you always say they'll break before we do. And with a young group like you had, how big, number one, was it when that moment happened to kind of reaffirm, hey, when I tell you this, I mean it. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. But number two, you talked a moment ago about emotions and getting emotions out of the game. Had an opportunity a week or two ago, to talk to Coach Fox from Maryville College, and he talked about there's a difference between emotion and intensity, and how emotional players are stupid players, and he tries to talk to his players about the difference between the two, and you really saw that come to play at the end of that game. They got the 2 point conversion, and a team that maybe wasn't accustomed to that situation let their emotions get the best of them. A penalty happens, and it puts Alcoa in a favorable situation. How big are those two things for a young team to be able to learn from and grow?
Yeah, their emotions told them, you're really good, this game's over with. And for most teams, their emotions would have told them this game is over, give up. And I think that's what we talk to our guys. You're always going to win with character. You're always going to win with class. You're always going to, if you can control your emotions and you can go with play the next play. And we still say it, and I got it from Gary a long time ago. If you make a mistake, smile about it and go on. I'm going to make some bad calls. We're going to make some bad throws. We're going to miss a tackle against a good team. Things are going to happen. Just continue, and all the little things we work. And we talk about the two biggest momentum changers in football are PAT block and kickoff return. because most of the time something good has happened for the other team, and you can counter that emotion pretty quickly by blocking a PAT or returning a kickoff. In that case in point, we returned that kick. You were able to. Our offensive staff did a great job of moving Eli Graff to receive that kick.
Yeah.
Got in great field position because, once again, an emotional reaction by there, just not maintaining that composure. It benefited us, and then once again, like you said, it gives credence when we talk to you about, hey, integrity, character, those things are going to win out in the end. Put us in position, and then we work those field goal situations. We work live field goal, we work block, and just to come out, and for Kyron to hit that kick. I mean, that's something. From everyone I've talked to, it's the first walk-off field goal win in the history of Alcoa football. So it's hard to do first around this place.
And I want to talk about the growth of this team, because from the Ravenwood game to the Greenville game, I feel like I saw a totally different team. This was a Greenville team that coming in, traditionally a really good team, West as well, and it just felt like this Alcoa group, by the time they met Greenville and by the time they met West, were prepared for the moment, and nothing fazed them, and they were able to just kind of control the game. Kind of what have you seen from them from day one to now?
We say, like you said, they'll break before we do. Well, when we came out the opening couple series against Ravenwood, they were breaking us.
Yeah.
Right. They came out, and that was a senior-laden team. We had went down there last year and beat them by a couple scores at their place, and they were coming here to right that wrong. And so it really forced us to understand what kind of physicality we had to play with to make that true. And I think it's one thing for young guys to say that, but when you've never been out there and you've not been across, against an opponent like that, I mean, it's hard. You can't simulate it, even with the scrimmage of McCallie. And that's why we have some really tough scrimmages, but there's nothing like the emotions with that game. And I think once again, just how that game and then the ups and downs of the Bearden game just gave our kids the confidence that you're never out of the fight. Just continue to play, no matter how much you're up, no matter how much you're down. I mean, we could have easily been up 21-7 at halftime of a Bearden without some mistakes, and we're sitting there at a tie ball game. And we're saying, look, we've made some mistakes. It's a tie ball game. Just continue to play. Things are going to work out. They converted a couple of third downs. They converted a fourth down. They get a 2-point play. And it was just like, sometimes you just look at it and say, man, maybe tonight's not our night. And just for our kids to maintain that composure, it's really impressive. And the growth of this team has made it fun. And we knew that's what this team was going to be about. It was going to be a team of growth. And to be, looking at this point with only one loss is really a credit to our coaches and our players.
Another question for you in regards to scheduling. So up until a few years ago, Maryville was one of the first games of the season, around third or fourth game every single year. And then the schedule got adjusted. We played Greenville, I think, around that time. Maryville got moved to later in the season. Last year, how big of a change maybe did that impact the team last season? And maybe what did you learn from that you can carry over to this year?
I think just, we've made too many mistakes. You can't turn the ball over and beat any good team, much less a team like that. We had a ton of penalties last year, turned the ball over 5 times, and still they score on a walk-off field goal. We had a really good team, and I loved it. Coach Swigland said it before the West game. It doesn't matter if you're the best team. You have to be the best team on that night. We were a highly talented team, but last year on that night, we were not the best team. Now, did it have anything to do? I definitely think it probably benefited them last year because they worked out some kinks, and they were able to get Will Jones in their quarterback. They were a pretty young team. They were working some things through, and so they were a better team than we had seen on film, we felt like, in that game. But we just, once again, I think the emotions got involved with us. I think you have to be careful in a game like this. You start feeling like you have to do something special. And if you'll just play your game, make the plays when they come to you, play as hard as you possibly can, play discipline, but it doesn't take some, superhuman effort to win this game. And when you start doing that, that's when you play outside yourself and you tend to make mistakes and ride that emotional roller coaster.
One of the things I've noticed as the season has progressed is, early in the season, trying to figure out who were going to be the guys. Obviously, we knew Eli Graff, we knew Eli Owens, but who else was going to step up to the plate and kind of make their name known and be someone you could rely and depend upon? There's been a lot of names lately that have really stepped up to that plate. You see Condis Cherry starting to find his own, Micah Jones figuring things out at the running back position. One of the players, too, that I've really loved watching his growth, and I talked to Coach Gossett about this a few weeks ago, Jacoby Cooper is a young man that it felt like, I think around 2 weeks ago or so, he kind of became a safety valve for Eli Graff. When he escaped the pocket, Jacoby got in a place place where he could deliver the football to him. You've seen Jameer Dean. We knew Dean was going to come in and hopefully start to have that breakout year, and I think he's grown a lot his sophomore campaign. But he talked to me about, too, like now we move into the Maryville week later in the season, and now there's not just one or two players, but there's multiple players who are now prepared for this moment.
Jacoby Cooper and Jacob Crow are quintessential Alcoa guys. Those are two juniors that when they were, I don't think Jacob Crow ever started a game when he was in middle school. If you would have coming up and people would say, hey, Jacoby Cooper's going to be a focal point of your offense. He's going to be a guy that in big games when he's a junior, you're going to be throwing him the ball. A lot of people would have questioned that judgment. But those kids, they show up every day to work. They're never in trouble in school. They go to class, they make their grades, they work hard in the weight room, and you just look at how, and Jacob Crow, I know it's not just Jacoby, but they are quintessential examples of developing your players. I think our coaches have, Coach Harris has done a great job of developing Jacoby. Coach Taylor and Coach Gossett have done an unbelievable job of developing Jacob, but those two guys have worked their butts off. And I tell all our young kids, I was like, if you want to be a player here, there's a lot of you with more ability, natural ability than these two guys, but you're going to have to match their work ethic because they've done everything they could to maximize their potential, and now they're playing great football. So it's not just about that guy that has all the stars and you hear all the talk about, because we've had plenty of those guys coming out of middle school and man, this guy's going to be unbelievable, and they just don't pan out because of character issues, because of their work ethic for different reasons. But I think those are two guys that are, to me they define our program. They're what make our coaching staff great and what make our community special.
I think it was Vince Lombardi who said it best. The only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, Scott, any other questions on your side?
Well, probably just kind of broaching a little bit of the latest announcement. What do you think of that, of possibly moving up to 4A?
Yeah, I think it was, for us, it came down to we want to play 10 games. Our kids, when they work, we had 9 games this year with a really tough schedule. And it was hard to put that schedule together. And if we had stayed in 3A, we were looking at a 4-team region, looking for 7 teams. You're having to travel a ton. And so this should give us an opportunity to have a 7 or an 8-team region. If you look at 4A, the way it lays geographically, if they make regions, which they should, in relation to travel, we're in a 7 or an 8-team region. We're looking for hopefully just 3 games. And we're allowed to play 10 teams. So to me, it was everybody was like the added challenge. To me, that discredited what we did in 3A. I promise you, 2 years ago, when it was a 1-point game against East Nashville, we didn't need any more of a challenge. When it was 14-14 against Covington state championship game, and after we had beaten Maryville, it didn't look like that we were just dominating 3A. So I think it was less about, and 4A will be a unique challenge just because it's new opponents, and you're playing bigger schools, and week in and week out, it's if you could play everybody 11 on 11, then that it levels the playing field. But when they have so many more players week in and week out, and that's why we have to develop guys. We've got to take guys that, hey, if we work this guy here for 2 years, he can play this position. He can be a backup here. He's a guy that can give us minutes. And luckily for us, we have a big sophomore class, and we're going to really depend on a lot of those guys to develop and play multiple roles for us. But I think it's exciting. But it bottom line came down to getting a 10-game schedule. And that was the number one thing driving the move. We would have done it 2 years ago if it would have helped us get a schedule. So it was less about the challenge, or I promise you nobody's tired of winning state championships in 3A, and it'll be a battle this year. That at some point in these playoffs we're going to get tested and we're going to have to play, and it doesn't matter any classification you're in. And so it'll be a unique challenge because we might end up being the smallest school in 4A, so it'll be a unique challenge, different opponents, but that's what it came down to. And so it'll be exciting for next year's seniors. It's rarely do you get to do something for the first time at Alcoa, and so to have the opportunity to play a 4A schedule, go into the 4A playoffs, hopefully as a senior class, it'll be a fun experience for them.
Yeah, and nothing's obviously guaranteed, but would certainly be sweet to ring out our time in 3A with a 10th straight consecutive championship, continuing to build upon a TSSAA record. But, Coach, final question for you, and then the cheerleaders, I believe, are going to come up and do a cheer or two on our next break. But moving into this game, talked about last year a little bit earlier, where 5 turnovers. If you take a positive from the Maryville game last year, 5 turnovers, and it was still a 3-point ball game at the end. So what that tells you, I think, is there was still a lot left in that tank, and had they not had those turnovers, good chance Tornadoes could have came out on top. But what also happened in that game is you figured out who your quarterback was. As at the end of that game, Eli Graff comes in and then kind of becomes the guy the rest of the season. He's learned from that. The team's learned from that. And now he's coming into his senior year looking to do what happened before him with Zach Lunsford and the crew 2 years ago. What's it going to take, especially considering a Maryville team that's got some really, really talented athletes? You talk about Will Jones, only a sophomore. And I think he's only getting better. He's certainly already better, I think, than what his brother was, and I think his family would say that as well. And then Price Davis, they seem to churn really talented running backs as well. What's it going to take for this crew to be able to leave Maryville and head back to the A with a victory on Friday night?
I told our guys it's about winning those one-on-one matchups. You know, if you're a guy like Eli Owens, you're a guy like Eli Graff, make the plays that come to you. Like I said earlier, you don't have to. It doesn't take any superhuman effort. Just play like you've played. I mean, I've appreciated those guys. I've appreciated Eli Owens so much. Like in the West game, he touched the ball one time. He played every snap on defense. He played every snap on offense. He blocked his butt off. He only caught one ball. And if anybody had a reason to maybe put it neutral, it would be him. You know, this is a guy that's going to be at Michigan here in 8 weeks and going through spring ball with them. And so I think he's doing everything he could possibly do to help us win. I think JT's doing that. I think Isaiah Emmert and Ryan McCord are doing it. Our seniors are really doing a great job. But I think it's going to come down to the underclassmen winning those one-on-one matchups. You know, I think it comes down who's going to defeat more blockers, who's going to win more blocks, who's going to win more 50-50 balls. I said, I told them at some point they're going to get us lost on defense and get a big game. At some point we'll get them off on defense and get a big game. But to me, that won't determine this game. Play in a big game like this, players usually do. Will Jones, how he played even though we turned it over, he played great as a freshman last year. Price Davis, it's the first time I'd really seen him run that hard, really like he's ran all year last year. You know, you look 2 years ago, the game that Jordan Harris played. I mean, Aaron Davis played an unbelievable game 2 years ago. But so players will win that game, and games like this always come down to 5 plays. And you never know when they're coming. You never know when that's going to be. When you shed this one blocker and you make that tackle and the ball comes at her, you go up and you break on this ball and you get an interception where the next play they were going to score. And so I think it's just winning those one-on-one matchups and understanding. I told our guys today I've been up 2 scores this game and lost. I've been down 2 scores in this game at halftime and won. So I think don't let the emotions. I use the example of Georgia against Alabama. You know, they get down 28 points, but you watch the film, they continue to play hard. They continue to play fit. They didn't let the emotions of that game dictate how they played, and I think that's why they beat Texas. I think the physicality and, they're able to come back in and almost win that Alabama game. But I think, they were able to tell their team, look, if you just keep playing and just trust what's going, they coined the term the process, right? But, and I think, for us, I think it's just you continue to play hard, continue to play physical. If you win one snap, that's great, but go on because it doesn't matter. You're not going to win this game to the fourth quarter. You're not going to lose this game to the fourth quarter. So just continue to, and, we always say it, have fun. Enjoy this is an environment that not many high school players get anywhere in the country. But especially in this state, there's not too many environments where a whole community, so many people care about this game and care about the outcome of this game, and so that makes it really special for our kids.
Yeah, it's going to be a real fun night. Super excited. The 96th Battle of Pistol Creek, hard to believe. We're getting closer to that 100 mark, which is just nuts. But, Coach, we're super excited for you guys, and we certainly wish you the best. And we'll be up on our side of the press box cheering you on Friday night.
Heath, appreciate you guys. Thanks for everything you do for us.
Thank you. And we are excited to bring one of the Alcoa football tornadoes up here on the stage with us. It is sophomore linebacker Darius Suddarth. And Darius, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. What about you?
Hey, I'm doing good, my man. Excited to have you here, and it's been an absolute pleasure watching you play this season. Only a sophomore, the future's so bright for you. Why don't you start first by telling us how long have you been playing football?
I really forget the age. I think I started around 7.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's been supportive through the whole way. So I started at 7. He's been working me up through the whole process.
And I want to go back to something you told me a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So if I remember correctly, originally you weren't sure if you wanted to play.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So my first day at practice, I really didn't want to, but he made me go out there that first day. But when that practice started and I made contact for the first time, I realized that was for me.
You knew at that point,
I
okay,
knew at that point.
This is the right sport for me. Well, also a multi-talented in a lot of different things from you and I spoke about. Something that you and I have in common and I really appreciate is you're also into music. You're in the choir. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
All right, awesome. And how long have you been singing?
6th grade.
6th grade?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's awesome.
I've been singing all my life. I joined
you joined
the chorus
officially. You joined
yeah,
choir in 6th grade. Well, I know they're excited to have you. You're probably starting in there already, doing what you need to do there. But music certainly helps develop you, and I think is really impactful for a lot of things. But with football, you said you've been playing since you were young. How long have you been here in Alcoa?
I played when I was little. I played down here. I moved down for a little bit. Played for a team in Knoxville,
Mm-hmm.
and I came back 7th grade year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how long I've been playing around here.
And so now you move into this season. You become a starter as only a sophomore. Can you talk to me about what that experience has been like for you, getting to start at such a young age, knowing kind of what's ahead for you, and then who've been some of the key players that have maybe had an impact on your development?
First of all, I've learned so much from this experience starting right here. all these dudes pointing right here. Jam. But really the leaders have been Eli, both the Eli's, Eli Owens, Eli Graff. They're really good helping me develop.
Yeah, we got a lot of support here from the guys tonight. We appreciate them showing out. A lot of talented football players over there that we're going to be talking a lot about over the next few seasons.
Yes,
Darius, I'm going to turn it over to Scott for a minute with a question for you.
Yeah, last year is your first real taste of Maryville Alcoa.
Yep.
What is this year, and what does the rivalry mean to you?
Well, I've been in Alcoa for as long as I can remember. I've never went to any other school. So coming up, we always had that rivalry. So playing in it right now, this means a whole lot to me.
Now, does this rivalry really start at the middle school level? Is this something you know about, and then you get into middle school and really start playing them, or is it something you played before that time?
I think that's exactly right. I think it's something you know about, and then once you get a little bit into like 6th, 7th grade, you start realizing how big it is and how deep it is in this culture right here.
I think one of the cool things too about this rivalry is you hear stories a lot about players who played together when they were younger and now are playing for Maryville or for Alcoa, crosstown rivals. So kind of having that smack talk in the group chat of knowing about each other and who's going to come out on top on Friday night. And it's kind of one of those things too. And anytime I ask a player, what are your goals for the season? I get 2 things: beat Maryville, win state. Right? Those are the 2 things every Alcoa player typically always tells me when I ask them their goals. And so a big-time rivalry Friday night. What's been the messaging this week, and what do you guys have to do to come away with a victory?
We have to be physical. We have to play physical for the whole 48 minutes. We have to stop the run, of course, because they got the quarterback right there, and they got the running back, and they're both deadly. So we have to be able to stop that. And if we can stop that, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's felt like something that from beginning of the year till now, you guys have really improved upon. You know, you got later in the year, you got Bearden, who had a really talented running back. You had West and others who started bringing that element into. With Bearden, they also had a quarterback who could run. So you really got a good taste of that experience as well. Ravenwood had one. Bearden had one as well.
Yeah.
And Greenville tried to throw a little bit of that at you also with Carson Quillen. But you have seemed to improve each and every week, and this will just be the next test and hopefully a W for you to take with you moving forward. But Darius, Darius, we appreciate you taking the time. I know we're going to have you in interviews plenty more times over the next few years, but, man, it's always a pleasure getting to talk with you. We want to call up all of the 8U football team that showed up tonight, and we're going to bring them up here for a minute and let you say a little bit about each one of them.
Thank you. I appreciate
So, guys, we're going to have you come up here to the stage. I think they're directing you now. So make your way up and come up into the front of the table. Everybody line up in front of the table for me. All right, so we have them coming up now. Line up and face that way for me. All right, I think we're getting them now. So, Ken, I'm going to let you take it away. You're going to introduce and talk about each of them before we get a break.
All right. At the end there, that's Sage. Sage is just a first grader. Sage really came on at the end of the year, and we'll tell you right now, especially by the end of the year with his hip movements, he's going to end up being probably a DB in high school, a cornerback. Keelan is beside him. Keelan is an incredible natural athlete, runs like Billy Sims. That's the first thing I think about when he does some things is, Billy Sims in the late 70s from Oklahoma, early 80s NFL. Just a great kid, a great player. Hudson is number one over here. Hudson has a very high football IQ for his age. He's tough, he's physical, but the big thing is we can do a lot with him. Like our passing game, a lot of our passing game is dictated on Hudson giving us feedback on what's open. And Jordan is good enough where he can call it on the fly and make teams pay for it. And beside him is Gabriel. This is Gabriel's first year playing tackle football. Gabriel is a fantastic kid. I think he's been student of the month at Alcoa. Just a great athlete. His best years are ahead of him. He's gonna be another kid that is gonna he'll be better as he goes along. Beside him looks like the last one is a Mally. Mally, I call him my little Wolverine. Mally's he's a fullback, and as old fullback, they're near and dear to my heart. But Mally blocks well for us. I mean, Mally will decleat you if you're not looking. He really helps set the tone physically. He runs in up the middle for us. He covers our corner, and he has some long touchdown runs for us this year. Beside him is Lucas. I call him 2'9" because he runs like Eric Dickerson. He's got that long stride. It looks graceful. It looks like he's not even trying. He's just out distancing people. Plays physical on defense. Him and Key are my outside linebackers. My outside linebackers dictate a lot of what we do. Great kid, very coachable. He's a pleasure to be around. Beside him is Noah Chapman. Now Noah is very athletic, very fast. As you can tell, he's long. We could do a lot with him. I think we had at least 2, maybe 3 reverses. He scored on like 60-yard touchdowns this year when they tried to focus on Lucas and Key too much. Played defensive end for us, made some real big tackles in championship game. Great kid. Beside him is our quarterback. Quarterback is Q. Q also plays corner for us. Q's very, very football smart. We put a lot on him. I mean, again, Jordan calling the offensive plays from the sideline. Sometimes he just uses hand signals, changing formation on the fly, and Q takes all that, takes a lot of responsibility, and we can be hard on him to make the right decision, takes responsibility, so super proud of him. He had a big touchdown pass in the championship game too. Beside him is Silas, and Silas is our center. Now, here's the thing. At any level, especially at this level, the snap is the most important thing. You could have Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson back there, but if you fumble the snap, it's not doing any good. So we made snapping a priority. You know, the centers get first choice of jerseys. They get first choice of everything, and we're going to love on our O-line, right? So Silas did a real good job for us in the year, shotgun under the center, got better every week, and I don't remember a bad snap in the last 2 playoff games. Beside him is LJ. LJ's favorite player is Ray Lewis. He plays tackle for us, and LJ's very athletic for an offensive lineman. We use him to pull a lot. He does a really good job for us on that. He plays some defensive tackle for us, but I bet as he matures and grows, probably more into a linebacker, maybe or a really, really high-level pulling guard at the high school level. Beside him is Knox. Knox is he's a 3rd grader. He played D-back for us. Sometimes I put him at my monster. He also he ran for us some too, and especially on our extra points, got in the end zone a few times. He's got real good hip movement when he runs, and he's another kid that's just a joy to be around. Yeah. Beside him is Braxton, and Braxton came up later. Braxton is very explosive. We put him at we're trying to find position for him because he's very fast for his size and he's very explosive. So we ended up putting him at guard. He was blowing guys off 5 yards off the ball. And at defensive tackle, he was shooting in the backfield. And then at the championship game, they broke one on us. Now he ran a kid down all the way from the defensive tackle spot and made a touchdown saving tackle at the end. So we're proud of him. Beside him is Corey. Corey is he's one of our offensive defensive linemen. Corey's a great kid. He got better all throughout the year. Took up a lot of space for us on the defensive line. On the offensive line, got a real good push for us. And Corey's another kid that once he's going to keep growing. He's going to keep getting bigger. But what will happen is as he gets bigger, he'll learn to play with a lower pad level. And for his size, when he gets that lower pad level, he's another one of those kids will be better in high school than he is now. Beside him is Greg. And Greg plays outside linebacker for us. He plays wide receiver for us some. Greg's also a state champion wrestler for his age group. So he's another one of those kids that, and this is a plug real quick, every football player should wrestle. Okay, every football player should wrestle. I'm an old wrestling coach, and wrestling's make any football player better. And Greg's wrestling helped him on the football field this year. Beside him is Rio. Rio's one of those kids. He had an injury early, but it started coming back later on. Rio is his first year playing football. We could play him in a lot of different positions, and wherever we put him, he did his best job for us. We had to put him at center sometimes. We had to put him at defensive end. We'd plug him in anywhere. He never complained. He never said, "Coach, I'm just learning this position." He did what was best for the team, and that's why I was just super proud of him for that. But these are our kids, you guys.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's give a round of applause to the Super Bowl champs, Alcoa AU. All right, awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming up.